In this week's Climate Friday newsletter, we're going to talk about the haze in the sky and the scientific explanation behind it. It all has to do with wildfire smoke all the way out west that has found its way to the Great Lakes region. Perhaps you saw a bit of the haze in the sky, which is especially noticeable in the evenings when the sun goes down, a reddish orange hue to that sunset. Vanessa captured this copper-colored sunset yesterday in Defiance, and there is a scientific explanation. Hazy skies due to wildfire smoke. That orange color on this weather map shows you heavy smoke. Now, this smoke is thousands of feet up in the atmosphere. It's not at the ground level where the air you breathe. Overnight into early Friday, that smoke is going to push off to the mid-Atlantic and eastern seaboard, and the blue color behind this shows you the smoke thinning out. That means we'll enjoy a little more blue in the sky as opposed to that hazy, translucent appearance that we saw over the last several days. It does briefly turn hazy maybe south of Toledo Friday afternoon, but overall a little more blue in the sky as we head towards the weekend. And you'll notice, especially from the west, that blue color crossing the Indiana-Ohio state line. That means we'll see a little bit more clear sunshine as opposed to the hazy kind that we've gotten used to over the last several days. Now, it's interesting to trace this smoke thousands of miles all the way to the west because it's coming from parts of the west coast into Idaho and Montana. These areas are where the wildfires continue to burn, and they have ridden across the jet stream. That smoke is traveling cross country, stretching into the upper Midwest, down into the Great Lakes region. The jet stream is essentially a conveyor belt that guides the weather. So when you see that reddish sunset, when you see the haze in the sky, that smoke has drifted all the way from the west and made its way here. That has to do with the pattern in the jet stream, which is dipping in across the Great Lakes region and much of the Midwest from Minnesota over to Ohio. And eventually later on this weekend, it's going to move out to the eastern seaboard, including New York City, which will see hazy skies from the wildfire smoke. Now, it's important to keep in mind that smoke is way up high in the atmosphere. It doesn't affect the air quality that you breathe at the ground level, but it is still enough to obscure the sunshine and also make those fiery looking sunsets. Sunshine looks filtered and it also appears hazy, and this will be the story into early Friday before we start to clear things out into the weekend. The reddish orange hue is from the wildfire smoke as well. Now, the smoke itself isn't necessarily that vibrant orange color, but the sunsets that we normally see just have a veil of that smoke over them, and the sun looks filtered and hazy, especially at sunrise and sunset. Now, on occasion, the smoke can mix down in the atmosphere. That happens when essentially the air is turning and bringing that smoke from thousands of feet up all the way to the ground level. In this case, we will be fine. That is not expected. This is what we call vertically integrated smoke. In other words, the smoke that is up in the atmosphere finds its way to the ground level, and that can impact air quality. However, in our case this week, not expecting anything to worry about. So where are these wildfires raging, and what's the latest on the Western wildfires? The majority of them, of course, west of the Rockies. Looking out towards California, that is a state that is notorious for the wildfires, but it's not just California. Some states that may surprise you include parts of western Montana, Utah, and Idaho is actually one of the states that is the driest, and Idaho continues to see wildfires rage. Now, I want to zoom in on one wildfire that has made a lot of attention in the news. Perhaps scrolling through social media, you have seen pictures of the Mosquito Fire. This one is just to the north of Sacramento. There's Sacramento on the weather map. There's San Francisco and Redding, California, further up north. Let's zoom in on the Mosquito Fire, which is still largely uncontained. This one is stretching from Auburn up towards Donner, and this is again to the north of Sacramento. 66,000 acres being burned by this fire, and it is only 20% contained. That is problematic because there's still a pretty good expansion of this fire that folks are working on. Crews are trying to put out this wildfire. So some of the smoke that we are seeing here in the Midwest, believe it or not, it comes from this Mosquito Fire that has drifted all the way into the Great Lakes region. Now, as far as these wildfires, there are currently about 93 that are burning out west, and the total acreage of this, hard to even fathom this number, 800,000 plus acres have been scorched and continue to be scorched, especially by these active wildfires that continue to burn. Now, what causes the wildfires? I've gotten that question quite a bit on social media. The majority of them are actually started by humans. When we talk about climate change with regard to wildfires, climate change may make them worse. It enhances and exacerbates wildfires, but what is causing them? Well, not climate change, but more often than not, it is a human origin and caused by man-made causes. So some of the major causes of wildfires, this is not surprising, unattended campfires, which is why we always urge you, if you are camping or just building a backyard bonfire, make sure that that fire is 100% guaranteed to be out, and make sure that it is totally off before calling it a night. Also, burning debris. That is another major cause of wildfires. Power lines that are fallen can cause wildfires as well. And sometimes, even in thunderstorms, you can get power lines that fall over and start natural fires. Lightning is another natural cause, and cigarette butts. That is one cause that is very frequent and burns down quite a few acres. So when is relief on the way? Thankfully, there is some much needed rainfall in the forecast for Northern California. Now through Friday, it's going to stay relatively dry with sparse rainfall, but into the weekend, we are forecasting rain for much of Northern California, Southern Oregon, and even into Nevada. That bright red color, that shows you 2 to 3 inches of rain. You're looking to the north of San Francisco, north of Sacramento as well. And the bullseye for this rainfall is likely to be in the area that needs it most. Some of that rainfall will find its way into those upper western states, including Montana and Idaho, but the brunt of the rainfall, this is likely to impact Northern California and bring in some necessary moisture, which hopefully can help quench that mosquito fire, as well as all those fires that continue to blaze out west. For the latest each Friday, you can head to WTOL.com/email to subscribe to our Climate Friday newsletter, and we'll share the latest topics both locally and across the world and how they may impact you.